Thought I'd take this opportunity to bring you up to date with the Trans-Africa record. The original plan was that you would share the highs and lows as we put this project together. Unfortunately, with coronavirus and the world being put into lockdown, nothing's really happened, to be quite honest. We don't know when we're going to be free to carry on as usual. We don't know when countries throughout Europe and Africa are going to be free to carry on as normal. And we're still waiting for companies who are likely to want to sponsor us to go back to work. So not a great deal to tell you. What I can tell you though is, following our little YouTube piece, recruiting for adventurers, be it mechanics, medics, film crew, photographers, to join us, we've had just shy of 100 applicants who are interested in joining the team and having a go at this new world record attempt. So they've come from as far afield as the United States, Canada, Mexico, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Norway. I think there was one guy from Japan, quite a few from Italy. So yeah, we've had some really top class applicants, and the plan is, when we're allowed to and social distancing has been relaxed to the point where we can all kind of meet, then the plan is to put together a selection weekend where we can, put the potential applicants through the mill and see what they're like. And if you just have a look at the YouTube piece, the film video we did with Steve Holland, who would run such a selection weekend, then you'll kind of get a feel about the sort of characters we're looking for. So that's a positive. Now, on the other side of things, I still haven't decided what vehicles we're going to use. Now, because we're looking at, it's going to be much more difficult to get sponsors. Let's be quite honest here. Companies are going to be hard pushed to free up cash following 6 months, 8 months, whatever it's going to be, lockdown, to start splashing on marketing pushes and promotions like this. But we're kind of hoping that some will, but I think the budgets are going to be a lot more restricted as to what we were hoping they would be. So the whole project is going to have to be scaled down budget-wise. Now, there's kind of three options really, and a bit of a wild card as well to one side that I'm not going to mention, but let's just say the wild card is a slightly unusual vehicle, and certainly not one you would even consider attempting such an endurance driving record attempt across Africa. Now, we've spoken to the manufacturer of that particular vehicle, and the marketing director was very keen, but he's got to go to the accountants and see if they've got the cash to support it. So I'm not holding out too much hope on that one. But on a more realistic side, we've got three options. We've got four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive, and basically that's it. Now, I would imagine most of you sitting there watching this are going to go, well, Africa, it's got to be four-wheel drive. But if the Top Gear boys with their Top Gear specials, if they were to use brand spanking new, highly capable Toyota Land Cruisers, would you watch it as they battle their way across Botswana? They, battle their way across Central Africa. They took on the Amazon jungle and the Andes and the Bolivia. You probably wouldn't watch it. If they were brand new, tricked up, fully capable, all you're going to do is stare out the window. Now, the plan is for this, we're going to raise money and awareness for military veterans suffering from PTSD. Now, my hope is that actually 3 veterans who are in the recovery stage of PTSD, they have probably gone through as much counselling and psychological treatment as they can possibly can, and it's a real case of just getting back out into the real world and pushing themselves and giving themselves a challenge and being back part of a team. Now the hope is, if we can raise the funds, to take 3 veterans with us. So for them, this has got to be a challenge. It's got to be tough, it's got to be grueling, they've got to work as a team, there's got to be problems. And so our vehicle choice will really determine how that's going to work out. So the first one is obviously one of these, a Discovery 2, probably my favourite of all expedition vehicles. It is an absolute jack of all trades. It's a family people carrier. It's a take the seats out and use it as a big van. It's got cruise control, comfortable seats, heating that works. It's quiet, it's economical, incredibly capable off-road. If you take the base model without all the fancy air suspension, the leaky sunroofs, the active suspension, all the stuff you don't need, if you take the base vehicle, it's actually incredibly reliable as well. So this is my favourite choice. Can we pick one up though for under £1,000? I don't know, we're going to need 3. So that's one thing, but it could be that we're just making life too easy for us. It could be too boring. And are you going to want to watch it? And really the whole aim of this game, as well as raising awareness and raising funds and helping veterans directly, is to entertain you guys and for you to enjoy and share the struggles as we try and embark on this massive trip across Africa. So would you watch it? That's my first question. And if you can, please post comments in the link in the description box below. I want to know your thoughts on whether you would watch us with driving a Discovery 2. Now, we can do some modifications to the vehicle, but to be quite honest, with a very limited budget, it's going to be hardly anything. It's almost going to be as we find it, give it a service and off we go. So you're not going to see us doing huge vehicle builds and lots of modifications, because we just unfortunately just haven't got the money for that. Now the other vehicle, I will move the camera, is just over there. So here she is, my second vehicle of choice. It's a Citroën Berlingo, but Peugeot did an identical model, just probably made in the same factory, but just with a different badge. This one's got the 1.9 litre non-turbocharged diesel engine. It's all mechanical, incredibly simple. So it's front wheel drive, this one. So we've gone from a 4-wheel drive Land Rover Discovery to a front wheel drive Berlingo. Now these proved remarkably brilliant when we took the veterans along the original Dakar rally route through the Moroccan Sahara. A lot of niggles, you know, they are French built, and so electrics were problems, just silly little things, but really as a whole they didn't fail us, and they got everybody back to the UK. Didn't go much further than reaching the port of Southampton, but they did get us back to the UK. Now they've got coil springs at the front, they've got torsion bars at the back. Now that's a bit of a pain, because we would have to try and get this thing much higher off the ground. We'd be looking at 8 inches of ground clearance, that's 200 mil. I think it's currently running at about 120, 130. So we've got to do about a 3-inch lift. Now at the front, that's relatively easy. It's just more heavy duty springs and some spacers to drop the sort of front shocks and struts down. The rear though, being torsion bars, it's not really a straightforward job. What you're really better off doing is just taking the entire axle off and fitting one off one of the more heavy duty load carrying van versions. But they were very common throughout Africa. So basically anything really, certainly in Northern Africa, you'd be looking at French. Peugeots are very common, Renaults and Citroëns. And that's really it on the small car side. When you're talking 4x4s, it's Toyota. Everywhere in the world is Toyota. So you will struggle to get, or we would struggle to get parts for the Land Rover. It's also a lot more electronic. We're looking at ECUs, we're looking at laptops, we're looking at diagnostics, we're looking at training. It's not straightforward, but way more capable than this thing. This would be much, much more challenging in order to get through. Now my third option, which one of the mechanic who came to Morocco with us, he's very keen on, and I kind of agree with him. I do like the idea. It's a London taxi. So front engine, rear wheel drive. Now that's two options. You've either got the model, the earlier model, the TX1, that's got the 2.7 litre Nissan Terrano engine in it. Now they'll do 300,000 miles before they're even run in. Incredibly reliable engines. The TX2 has got the 2.4 litre Ford engine out of the Transit. And for all of you who drive a Land Rover Defender with that engine, you probably realise it's not that reliable. They have had a lot of niggles with it, so it was quite quickly replaced with a 2.2. But you can pick up a taxi for under £1,000. Those, well, when we did the Morocco trip, I think I paid 250 quid for that thing. And that was about the most we ever spent on I think in the end, we had 6 Berlingos. They've gone up a little bit more actually. People obviously realise they're really good desert vehicles, so we'd be looking at about 750 quid for something like that. But when you're talking budget adventures, you know, 3 people in the back, easy to get parts, very simple. That's kind of what you want. So I'll put it out to you guys. What do you want us to see us do this Trans-Africa record in? Do you want us to really go for it, absolutely thrash the record, hopefully? But we shouldn't have any problems. We shouldn't, you know, come up with any dramas. Use something like the Land Rover, or do you want to see us suffer? Do you want to see us try and get one of these across Africa? Potholes, mud, rain, gravel, sand, rocks, whatever we're going to come across. Or do you want us to see us do it in a London taxi? So maybe have a little bit of a vote. Put your comments in the link in the description box below. Let me know what you think. What do you think we should have a go at this record in? So that's something we're just thinking. There is obviously this wild card. I won't tell you about it, but if it does come off, then hopefully you'll be quite impressed what we're hopefully thinking. But that's kind of the option as we stand on vehicle choice. Is there much else to tell you? Fortunately not, really. So you're not really sharing any highs or any lows. It's kind of nothing much is happening. So I'll finish for now, but I'll try and do regular updates on where we are. There is talk that things are starting to open up a bit. Social distancing seems to be relaxing a little bit. There is talk of some companies going back to work by the beginning of July, because we're going to need fuel, oil, tyres, clothing, flights home, shipping home. There's going to be an awful lot of stuff this team is going to need. We're going to need to get the guys trained up. First aid, remote environment, recovery, communications. There's a lot to do with the hopeful plan, but it all depends on how Africa is and how European countries are. The hope is we're going to set off in February. That's February 21. That's what I'm looking at. So yeah, not a lot else to say at the moment. I'll hope you guys are all doing okay over there out there with your lockdown, and I'll try and do regular reports, let you know if there's been any movement, any updates. Thanks for watching. Cheers.